Good morning.
Good morning.
Uh, this is the Unity of Springfield Adult Education, and today we're going to be continuing the second part of the Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. And um, my name is John Braucher, and welcome to those of you who are online and to those of you that are here today. We're going to begin with a meditation for on a prayer of awareness. So just take a deep breath, feel the air fills your lungs. Notice the connection between the air and the lungs and the connection of love. Expand your lungs with air until your body has the need to expel the air. And then exhale and feel that pleasure. When we fulfill any need of the human body, it gives us pleasure. To breathe gives us pleasure. Just to breathe is enough for us to always be happy and enjoy life. Just to be alive is enough. Feel the pleasure of being alive, the pleasure of feeling of love. Today, Creator of the universe, we ask that you open our hearts and open our eyes so we can enjoy all of your creations and live in eternal love with you. Help us to see you in everything we perceive with our eyes, with our ears, and with our heart, and all of our senses. Let us perceive with eyes of love so that we may find you wherever we go and see you in everything you create. Let us see you in every cell of our body, in every emotion of our mind, in every dream, in every flower, in every person we meet. You cannot hide from us because you are everywhere, and we are one with you. Let us be aware of this truth. Let us be aware of our power to create a dream of heaven where everything is possible. Help us to use our imagination to guide the dream of our life, the magic of our creation, so we can live without fear, without anger, without jealousy, without envy. Give us a light to follow, and let today be the day that our search for love and happiness is over. Today, let something extraordinary happen that will change our life forever. Let everything we do and say be an expression of the beauty in our heart, always based on love. Help us to be the way you are, to love the way you love, to share the way you share, to create a masterpiece of beauty and love. The same way that all of your creations are masterpieces of beauty and love, beginning today and gradually over time. Help us to increase the power of our love so that we may create a masterpiece of art, our own life. Today, Creator, we give you all of our gratitude and love because you have given us life.
Even daylight saving time.
That's
Right.
right. Good thing these little computers update automatically.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to kind of recap off of the part one, we talked a little about the four agreements, perception. We talked about the different tracks of love and fear that we can, and the two main sources of emotions being love and fear, and some of the qualities of love. So, initially, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the difficult, and then get into some of the solutions. So, anybody here have dogs or cats? Okay. And they represent unconditional love.
Well, depends on food.
Naturally, they do. Now, they've been domesticated a little bit, not as much as we are, but they are domesticated, even in Miguel Ruiz's use of the word domestication. They do get impacted because they've lived with humans for generations, and so they do get and I believe they do some dreaming as well, and have some creations.
Yeah, they run.
But they don't hold grudges very long. No. And they're back to the present moment more quickly than we are, which might make a difference. And they have that unconditional love. They just like all of us. They just want love, and it can be kind of a perfect relationship. Now, Ruiz uses the word perfect relationship in a couple of different ways. One is that it's already it's perfect if there's unconditional love flowing, bi-directional, and you're not going yes, but, or if. I love you if, or I love you when, but only when you're a certain way, and it hurts us as well because we end up holding. We can end up holding a grudge or something. Yeah. Wendy.
When unconditional love, I used to try to love people and love things in this world unconditionally. That was what I thought it meant. But for what it means for me now is I am loved. And so it really doesn't have to do with anybody else. It doesn't have to do with other people. I just am loved. They can be what they want to be. And that's the only thing important. I'm connected to Source and I am loved.
Well, you're just stepping ahead of the game.
Sorry.
So no, and that's true. You're exactly correct. That and we alluded to it 2 weeks ago in class. That the importance is our expression of love. It's not. It's an inside job as opposed to we only feel good if we're getting a certain sensation from the behavior of other people around us. So, and a lot of this, so one of the first things he says is, don't lie to yourself. Don't invent in other people what isn't there. Don't think that you know everything that's going on inside of you. And if you know what you want, you will find it. It's just like your relationship with your dog, but better. So you get a pet for a reason, because there's someone there to pet, and there's something that a pet that's going to give some kind of affection or show some attention to you in a very consistent way without, regardless of whether you're having a good day, bad day, whatever. So, but a lot of times we a lot of times people struggle in relationships. Might be romantic relationships, parents, uh, children, siblings,
Neighbors.
cousins, neighbors, friends, just. And so, if you already have some time invested in that relationship, take a step back. Kind of don't get lost in the dream. And the first step is on the handout, which is first step is accept yourself. So that first unconditional love is unconditionally loving of yourself. The non-judgmental stance towards yourself. So there's not any if or but. It's just I'm a child of God, perfect, just the way I am, just the way I was created. It's not a mistake. There's not any error. The second step is to accept the person that you're in relationship with. Just again, as they are, without judgment. And then the piece of it is both you and your partner have the right to be free. When you pretend that you're not, you're always going to fail. Once you accept yourself the way you are, the next step is accepting that partner. And they have the right to be who they are. And they have the right to be free, just like you do. And if we try and control other people, this gets into the control issues in a relationship, where we're trying to get people to behave in a certain way. It's frustrating, isn't it? Because they're being themselves perfect. Okay. And we might as well accept that they are who they are. Now, we may choose to have some boundaries in terms of how much time we want to spend and how much attention we want to pay to that individual person. And we have that freedom. And when we try to control another person, what happens to that freedom? We're giving it away. We're giving away our choice to say, when you're raging like that, that makes me feel kind of uncomfortable, and I just assume not pay attention to it. But if we decide, it's wrong, you can't rage, I'm not going to let you rage, then we're putting ourselves in a position of trying to control something that isn't ours to control, and we actually give up our own freedom to refocus on what we want to focus on and to be who we want to be. So it's a sacrifice. If you can love your partner the way they are, if you can open your heart completely to your partner, you can reach heaven through your love. So, regardless of what the person is doing, if your response is just love, and it's not, because it's not conditional. If your choice is, I'm going to send love, unconditional regard, at whatever level is that you choose. Again, there's no reason for you to come back and say, well, I didn't love him enough. I didn't do it right. I'm not very good at this love thing. It's whatever's in your heart is perfect, is right. So if you already have a cat and you want a dog, what can you do?
finish
Well,
your yard?
well, once you know, then you can start practicing from this point forward. You may decide that you're going to find a new home for the cat and get a dog, or you might add a dog to the menagerie that you have. But either way, you create a new beginning. And you don't have to have attachments to the past. One of the things that really hurts us is that we drag past experiences with us, which inform our expectations and affect our mood, affect our energy, and it can be, again, harmful and not helpful for us. And we have the choice; we don't have to have those attachments. And that I really recommend the Ruiz book, The 5 Levels of Attachment, as well, because it really gets at the whole issue of first evaluating how attached you are to certain things, and certain people, and certain ideas. And it gives you a kind of a roadmap to make choices about letting go of attachments. Yes. And it's perfectly fine to have an attachment. You know, Buddha's, whole idea was, well, non-attachment, and that will make you, you will find enlightenment through letting go of any attachment. And yet, when we have a close relationship with someone, we're choosing attachment. And as long as it's our choice, as long as we have that freedom to choose, there's nothing wrong with attachment at any of the levels, as long as you have awareness and you know why you're doing it, why you're choosing it, and that you are giving yourself the unconditional love and the other person the unconditional love, so that if it changes, it changes. Because this next day, this next moment is different than the last one. And so that there is a real possibility that relationships are in flux, are in change. Can you bring the thing to Donna?
For me, it gets a little ticklish when I identify with anything but my higher self, because that's the part of me that I can love. That's the part that God has made. And the persona that I've developed with an ego and with a self-interest and so forth, that's the worldly part. And let's face it, we're here to enjoy that, to come and mix it up with people, but to know at the same time that there is something in us that we can love unconditionally, lets me off the hook. It just it allows me to be me, and it allows me to know that it's okay. It's okay to be me, because that me, really, the one God made, is perfect.
I just finished a Mind Valley class last night on flow, and the guy was a conductor, so everything was about how you conduct an orchestra. And many conductors micromanage the orchestra. You do this, and they look for mistakes. And he said the best conductors look for inspiration, and they dance with the orchestra. And he had us watch different conductors in their style. And he said, as a leader, your job is not to micromanage, it's to pull out of your team the inspiration so that you start out with your agenda, but it's not fixed because you're adding all the input from the team. And so you end up with a different vision at the end because you incorporate. And I said, that's the jewel of leadership, is to inspire and to open up space. So he says, you play dumb. If you're a leader, you play dumb and you let your team, you may have what you think is the right answer, but you let your team come up with an answer. And he said, it's usually so much better than anything you could have ever imagined. And it was like just a whole fresh perspective on allowing the other people to have the input. And it was just really a refreshing and looking at the other people having their ability to be right and giving them that freedom was what opened everything up. It was amazing.
Absolutely. That's why I love jazz too.
Yeah, I love jazz.
So, and when we practice self-love, self-respect, and tolerance, and self-respect, our tolerance for self-abuse is low. So, when we're able to love ourselves, have awareness, and self-respect and self-love, then we don't tolerate so much self-abuse. So the whole issue is, it's not, when we think other people are abusing, it's because we've been self-abusing. That precedes any of the negative interactions that we're typically getting. Because, and of course, according to Abraham, that's why we attract from others, is if there's the self-abuse going on. And so that's why the self-love, self-respect is so important. So he goes into, he says, there's a confusion between mind and body. And the mind is needy. The body is already perfect. We're all, our bodies are perfect and we're all beautiful. But the mind has other things to say. And wants, and is always looking, like you were talking about, the conductor is looking for the imperfections. What's wrong with my body? I mean, the whole Western medical thing is like, what's wrong? What's your problem? It's all problem based, all negative, illness based, and it's fueled by fear and the desire to know, what am I? The mind or ego is trying to figure out, what am I? What am I supposed to mean? What do I, why am I here? All these questions, and it confuses the needs of the body with its own.
So, just a little different perspective on that. That in my metaphysical journey, there was a time that I believed that, and the ego and the motivation of the ego. But after studying metaphysics and like Curtis Hopkins or one of the things that helped me to shift in this thinking was, what if a need of the ego is to have it's good, to find it's good. It just doesn't know how. That's all. And so the motivation, and the reason that changed it is that then the ego no longer became a hindrance to the journey. It wanted my human self really wants the same thing my spirit self wants. It just doesn't know how to go about it.
Well, it's holding the flesh on the journey. So it's not that the ego is a negative thing or a bad thing. It's just that it doesn't always know what it's doing. Yet. So and it has some confusion. So the mind says, I am the body, I am what I see, I am what I think, I am what I feel, I'm hurting, I'm bleeding, I'm in discomfort. And so that which takes us on a journey. And it's completely normal that the mind gains control of the body. And we live our life that way until something kind of shakes us out of it. Something in our life occurs and we have this experience and we go, oh wait, there's something more here going on. You know, and that what led each of us into our own metaphysical journey. In the process of letting go of the personal story that makes you feel safe, or that the domestication story, as we are able to let go of that then gives us the freedom to choose our own things. So the domestication, we're given some beliefs that the parasite, which is basically our automatic thinking, our automatic thoughts, our automatic judgments of whatever it is coming at us.
Kind of a tough word to put on it.
The parasite, yeah, he doesn't. The thing about Ruiz, and I actually cleaned up a lot of his language in his book is kind of judgmental, but he uses it because that's what the experience is at that time. And it feels, and the parasite, the reason he uses the parasite is because it's a set of way of looking at things, of beliefs, if you will, the repeated thoughts that you didn't actively choose. They came to you from culture, from your parents, from educational system, from a cultural backdrop, which was not of your own volition of choice.
Other than the fact you chose to come here.
Yes, yeah. Well, that, you know, and it, you know, and that's a possibility. I don't know that that's even true. I mean, I know that that's a very popular conception, and I certainly am open to that. And I also am open to that sometimes there might be the whole was involved in making that choice to I don't know.
Again, it just whatever way works for anyone. But one of the ways that I began to recognize, there's a book called Born to Win, and it's wonderful that it takes you through. You take a subject in your life and you look at the people who would have been the ones that conditioned you, and you just see how they would have responded. But the thing I got from that, for one thing, I did time. There's never enough time, never enough time, never enough time. And I went through that and looked at the choices that they gave me. But it all came down to, no matter what conditioning was put before me, I made the choice of which parts to take. And that was empowering, that I made the choice in the conditioning process, moment by moment, and that I could choose again. And from that moment, I said, oh, this is the choice I made. No, this is the choice I have. I have always had enough time since then. Time changed. So I'm just saying, don't leave out the choice in the conditioning. That's all.
Correct. And there is, well, that's the difference. Is whether you're on autopilot versus being aware that you're making a choice.
Right.
And when that changes, then you actually do have more freedom.
Then there's enough time.
Right. So he goes on to say that the main problem is self-rejection. Is that when we, in other words, a self-judgment. That when we do that, then we limit who we are, and we limit the love that we can have. And what he says, one of the solutions that we have is that our heart is a magical kitchen, and our heart is a source of basically of love, both self-love and the love of anyone that we're in relationship, which, from everything from our pets to our family, friends, our politicians, and when we're have that heart focus, we're always generous, and our love is always unconditional. So, if you can go ahead and you can love a politician, regardless of the choices that they're going to make. And I was in a conversation the other day about blessing politicians, blessing people who are behaving in a way that we're struggling with, and to go ahead and bless them. And the conversation was getting to the point about, well, we might do that blessing more because it feels better to us to bless than to get into conflict or feel. Yeah.
Well, if you know me at all, you know I don't even watch the news. I'm apolitical.
Right.
But the reason I do that is for my own sanity.
Right.
And because I've always believed for years now that the bad guy is really the goodest guy. He's in disguise to make something else happen on the planet. So there you go.
Well, and the logotherapy became and I'm blanking on the fellow who wrote the book on it. He was in the Nazi death camp, and he survived that. And the logotherapy, the whole idea that we're all free. We may not have liberty. We may not have all the choices that we want to have, but we all are free, and nobody has control of our thinking, of our choices, but us, which came from logotherapy. But it came about because he survived the death camp, Dachau. And I'm not saying that Dachau was a good thing. I'm just saying it's just, sometimes beautiful things come out of things that when we look at it at face value, go, oh, that's horrible. That's terrible. And I would agree that I wouldn't choose to do those things, but at the same time, it seems like there's always a reason for something.
Just like Abraham says, that we've been given guidance here And when we're moving in the direction we don't want to go, Abraham will say, don't worry, it'll get worse. And so it's not we're being punished. It's not anything that, but our spirit just won't allow us to stay there, going in the direction we don't want to go.
Okay, the other idea is that the observer behind the mind, or behind the ego, and the body and the soul, is the force of energy of life. And we are, each of us is life. We're this energy source. And at the same time, we are what we believe we are. And when you adore your body, when you accept yourself completely and unconditionally, then you'll see God everywhere. Okay? And we'll even see God behind the parasite of other people. And that's Ruiz's way of saying you'll see God even behind what seems to be evil people or evil behavior, the bad guys. Yes, it's exactly that's what you were getting. So he then gets into the healing of the emotional body. So, and this is something that each person has to decide when it is that they're getting into it. And usually people start to address this because they're uncomfortable. They're experiencing discomfort, pain, and it creates this urge to change and to get over the negative experience. And he says that you know, and he talks about some of the basic things that that we need, the keys to healing, and they're truth, forgiveness, and self-love. And that these three keys were shared by Jesus, Buddha, Krishna, and others. They're cross-cultural throughout mankind. But he talks that truth is like a scalpel because it's painful to open our wounds and uncover the lies, the misconceptions that create the suffering that we experience. And the first step to find that injustice that created the wound is no longer true. I mean, stuff happens, but it's not happening. It may not be currently happening now. A lot of things that we get stuck on and fixated were things that occurred in the past, and they aren't true anymore because now is now. What's true is what is now, not what happened whenever. And that's an important distinction. And even if it was true, it doesn't mean it's true now. By using truth, we open the wound and we see the injustice from a different perspective, a new perspective. And truth is relative in this world. It's changing all the time because we live in a world of illusions. And there are truths covering lies and lies covering truth. Like peeling an onion, you uncover the truth little by little until in the end you open your eyes to find out that everyone around you, including yourself, is lying all the time. Or creating this dream. And it's not lying from those dirty liars. It's just each person's own expression of what it is they're experiencing. Yeah.
To be in the illusion. The illusion of the problem.
The illusion of the dream. Well, and it's not necessarily a problem, it's just if we mistake it for being something more than what it is, yes. So he has 3 apprentice rules that really come from the 5th agreement. So most of us are familiar with the fourth agreement. The fifth agreement was written a little bit afterwards with his son. And the fifth agreement
Don't believe anything.
is be skeptical, but learn to listen. Don't believe yourself or anybody else. Use the power of doubt to question everything you hear. Is it really the truth? Listen to the intent behind the words, and you'll understand the real message. Hopefully. So his three apprentice rules is, first of all, don't believe me. Whatever it is that he's putting out there, if it doesn't work for you, toss it out. The second one is don't believe yourself. In other words, don't believe your autopilot. There's going to be a certain amount, 80 to 90% of all of our thoughts are repetitive thoughts, thoughts that we've already been thought before. So, and that's the beauty of meditation, to see that space between the thoughts so that we can actually sometimes see them from a different perspective. And then don't believe anyone else. Don't believe other people's mythologies. Lead with your heart. And listen in the quiet to that inner calm sense that you are ongoingly developing.
So it went away and then came back. Basically, it's to learn how to follow your intuition, because your intuition comes straight from source. And when you can learn to love yourself enough to trust yourself, it's a matter of trusting your intuition. And when you can quiet your mind enough to follow your intuition, you're following your heart. And that's basically what you're doing, is you're allowing yourself to follow your intuition.
Yep. Yeah, intuitiveness is and part of that, part of intuition is about, and Abraham gets into it in the using the emotion as a guidance system, and where we are on the continuum of emotions.
For me, there came a time too that I had to recognize that my choices were a part of that intuition, that still is being filtered through this Wendy. It's like I used to, my connection with other people was one that if somebody was sick, I would get sick, I would feel their pain. I could help people because I could feel the suffering and everything. And then I realized that, you know what, I could be connected and help them, and I didn't have to do their suffering too. So we do have choices even in the way we receive our intuition.
And that's the way that it's the peeling of the onion. I mean, or John Kabat-Zinn calls scaffolding, where as we grow, we're up on the scaffold and we can see so high, and then we go, I've not seen it from that perspective before. Now I understand. And then you add another layer of the scaffolding, and you get a little higher, and then there's something beyond that. So
It gets bigger.
yeah, it's always it's an ongoing progression.
Ken Wilber talks a lot about that.
And so there's that. Then the forgiveness part is very much of the healing that came to us. That again, that comes through a lot of traditions. And I had the really fortunate experience of knowing Father Ray O'Connor back in the 80s. And he, from the pulpit, he talked about about functional, he was a Claretian priest, which
What?
means a Claretian, it's an order in the Catholic Church. And, so the order priests are not diocesan priests. They don't work for the bishop in the areas when they have a church. They typically spend a part of their time cloistered, doing meditation. They spend a part of their time doing that missionary work, and then they occasionally will come in and shepherd, particularly rural churches or inner city churches. And he had this a functional definition for forgiveness that I just always was taken by, and I thought it was rich and helpful. And basically, he said, it's to accept the person, both yourself as well as the other person. The parts that you like, the good parts, and the parts that you're struggling with no strings attached. In other words, once you forgive them, then that's let go. Now, in our own personal experience, we often find that we, especially with family of origin issues and stuff, that we will forgive, but then we, then we get that same anger comes up when something else happens.
You're on probation.
And something else triggers it, or whatever, or a thought, or a memory, or whatever. Yeah. And so, and then I took this concept and I pictured that this forgiveness thing, this whatever it is we're trying to forgive, is like it's like a rope that's on an ocean-going ship. It's a large rope, and we're doing our forgiveness with some cuticle scissors. And we're snipping away at it. So it's something that is a process. We sometimes have to go through it for a little while before we cut through it and finally are able to ultimately really let go. And with no strings attached, where we let it go and it doesn't come back. And we don't go, yeah, but. And it's, and forgiveness is not easy, and yet it's for us. It's a salve, it's a healing. So he encourages us to first make a list of everyone we need to ask forgiveness for. Then ask them for forgiveness, even if it's just in our prayers, in our dreams, but in some way. And this is to forgive ourselves, is to be thinking about, because, we do things and we go, oh, I don't want to do that again. It doesn't mean you're horrible. You didn't get a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling off of your own behavior in a situation, which is a feedback thing. And being aware of that, and accepting it, and asking if it's comfortable to ask the person in person, to ask them for forgiveness, that's fine. Otherwise, just do it mentally or emotionally. The next step is to make a list of all the people that have hurt you, that you need to forgive. Family, friends, spouse, pets, government, God, whatever. And go through that that process of letting go of that and seeing them as love, and that they are the same energy that we are, seeing them as God, and that they have, they each have their own dream, their own thing that they were working through, just like you were. It's just different. They have their own unique one.
Is forgiveness not an attitude as well as individual application? Because if you have, if there's a teaching, as I understand it from the Course in Miracles, that this is the key to the whole thing. You forgive yourself, you forgive other people, you forgive everything. There's nothing that you hold against anybody. You're for everything. And if it's an attitude, then it seems to me like it would come automatically.
That's the second agreement.
Oh, I see.
Okay. In the four agreements, the second agreement is,
Forgive in all directions.
well, it's just there's nothing to forgive because it wasn't about you anyway.
Yeah.
It's so and so once that, and that's the attitude that I think that we eventually develop, is that it's not about me. Their behavior was driven by what's going on in their heart, not by me. Now, their behavior may have gotten directed at me, but it's not about. And once that clicks, then you don't rack up the things that you need to forgive.
Don't you have some sort of responsibility for that, though? For it's not inside you; it's inside them. It's like, oh yeah, I didn't do it. That was Jerry. No.
Well, okay,
Is
so
there some responsibility?
well, what Ruiz would say is just to love.
Yeah.
Just to love them as just another part of God's creation. Oh, she's first. Obviously.
HeartMath said that when they were testing, they just do research. And their biggest change in people in research was they had all these people meditating. And they noticed that because they monitor brain waves and heart waves, and the biggest change they saw, they asked these people, what were you doing when you were meditating? And they said they were going through forgiveness. And they noticed, their whole electric system in their body completely changed, much more than anybody else. So they started, when they had people they were doing research on, they started with forgiveness, because that was what really made a difference in your makeup.
One of the things that really helped me is when I began to understand that for a long time I had signs all over my house. That's how I learned sometimes. And it said, to take offense is the same energy as to give offense. Because I would say I never went out of my way to offend or hurt anyone. But I guarantee you I went out of my way to take offense and to feel a victim and all of that. And victim energy helps create perpetrator energy. So that's the only, in forgiveness, it is a part of you too, but you're just playing your own role in it, your own energy.
Yeah. And since you mentioned that, that's the rescue triangle. So there's the victim energy, there's the perpetrator energy, and there's the rescuer energy, and it's all the same.
I need a lot of sick people so I can be a good codependent.
Yeah. Okay. So again, let's get centered a little bit. Just breathe. Focus on that heart center. Today, Creator of the universe, we ask that you help us to accept ourselves just the way we are, without judgment. Help us to accept our mind the way it is, with all our emotions, our hopes and dreams, and personality, and our unique way of being. Help us to accept our body just the way it is, with all its beauty and perfection. Let the love we have for ourselves be so strong that we never again reject ourselves or sabotage our happiness, freedom, and love. From now on, let every action, every reaction, every thought, every emotion be based on love. Help us, Creator, to increase our self-love until the entire dream of our life is transformed from fear and drama to love and joy. Let the power of our self-love be strong enough to break all the lies we were programmed to believe, all the lies that tell us we are not good enough or strong enough or intelligent enough, that we cannot make it. Let the power of our self-love be so strong that we no longer need to live our life according to other people's opinions. Let us trust ourselves completely to make the choices we must make. With our self-love, we are no longer afraid to face any responsibility in our life or face any problems and resolve them as they arise. Whatever we want to accomplish, let it be done with the power of our self-love. Starting today, help us to love ourselves so much that we never set up any circumstances that go against us. We can live our life being ourselves and not pretending to be someone else just to be accepted by other people. We no longer need other people to accept us or tell us how good we are, because we know what we are. With the power of our self-love, let us enjoy what we see every time we look in the mirror. Let there be a big smile on our face that enhances our inner and outer beauty.
Is that the way I always laugh at myself when I see it?
There's certainly a sense of humor in this.
Yeah, maybe.
And let us love ourselves without judgment, because when we judge, we carry blame and guilt. We have the need for punishment, and we lose the perspective of your love. Strengthen our will to forgive ourselves in this moment. Clean our minds of emotional poison and self-judgment so we can live in complete peace and love. Let our self-love be the power that changes the dream of our life. With this new power in our hearts, the power of self-love, let us transform every relationship we have, beginning with the relationship we have with ourselves. Help us to be free of any conflict with others. Let us be happy to share our time with our loved ones and to forgive them for any injustice we feel in our mind. Help us to love ourselves so much that we forgive anyone who has ever hurt us in our life. Give us the courage to love our family and friends unconditionally and to change our relationships to in the most positive and loving way. Help us to create new channels of communication in our relationships so there is no war of control. There is no winner or loser. Together, let us work as a team for love, for joy, for harmony. Help us to become the masters of gratitude, generosity, and love so that we can enjoy all of your creations forever and ever. Amen.
Well done.